Bring your attention to your whole body and the space that your body is occupying. And notice that all around your body, there's space as well. There's space in your room. Even with the eyes closed, we know where we are located in space and how our body is situated. If we're lying down, we have the pressure along the back of the body. We have this sensory input that tells us that there's something connecting with our body all the way from head to toes. If we're sitting, we won't probably have something closer to the feet. We might have our feet on the floor. We can feel that. We might have our feet up. So however it is that we're sitting, we have a proprioceptor system that lets us know where our bodies are in space. And we have this memory of what's around us. So even with the eyes closed, we know what kind of furniture we're sitting on. We know if we were to open our eyes, what we would see. We know the colors and shapes and furniture and empty space and space that has walls and ceilings. So we have this knowing of the space that we're in. And we have a knowing of the space that our bodies are occupying as well. Some of how we know that is through sensory input. If your hands are touching your body, you'll have a warmer sensation in your hands. If they're touching a tabletop or something cooler, you'll have a different sensation. So we have all of these ways of locating ourselves in time and space. And when we pay attention to the thought stream, it often appears somewhere in the region of the head, quite often behind the forehead. So these sounds that you're hearing are coming in through your ears, and the brain is making meaning from them. If you understand English, then you will know what words I'm saying and what the words mean. And so it seems we don't actually hear through our ears, we're more hearing through the brain and the mind that's making meaning of the sounds. And with thought and with sounds, with all of these experiences that we're noticing, we can also notice that there's space all around them. So there's the sound of my voice, and then there's some space, and then there's the sound again. And when we tune into the silence between the sounds, so when we just tune into the sounds, it's kind of like almost like we forget that there's space between them. There's silence between the sound. And that's a function of one part of the mind that makes meaning out of the sounds. It's a natural part of the mind, and it's quite functional in day-to-day matters. And when we pay attention to the body, we can tell that there are muscles and nerves and really physical sensations. Even at just tuning into the forehead and the eyebrows, we might notice a bit of tightness or tension there. It's often a place where there's a bit of worry, kind of knits the eyebrows. And when you wiggle your eyebrows up and down a couple of times and relax your forehead and eyebrows and eyes, there's a bit of a different perception now in that area. We could do the same with the jaw, move the jaw around a little bit and relax the muscles and tendons around the jaw. And the back of the neck and the shoulders, notice the space where those sensations are appearing in your awareness. from the heart center down through the stomach. When we pay attention to the chest and the stomach, we can notice there's movement of the body with the breath. The muscle fibers are lengthening as we inhale and relaxing as we exhale. So there's this natural process of, as we breathe in, the body expands. As we breathe out, the muscles release, everything relaxes. And we can see that that's happening within the space of our physical bodies. And it's also happening in the space of awareness. So all of what we were just paying attention to is happening in this observing or witnessing field of awareness. So when there's something really compelling about a thought, we tend to forget everything else and really focus on the thought. If there's something really compelling about a sensation, there could be a feeling of pain somewhere in the body that's physical. There could be some kind of a feeling or sensation of bliss in the heart center. There could be a knot of something dark and hard in the stomach. We have all of these different sensations and experiences of feeling and sensation. And we know when we pay attention to them where it is that they're appearing. They're appearing in the space of the body. And very often we have a meaning that the mind attaches to them, and often a train of thought will get going when a sensation appears. So if there's pain somewhere in the body, there will be the sensation of that. What does it feel like? Is it burning? Is it sharp? Is it dull and throbbing? There's the physical sensation. And sometimes we're able to sit with sensation and notice the qualities of it. Very often we also have thoughts come into the mind about it. We might have a contraction around it, which is a natural response to pain. We might have thoughts about how long it's going to be here. Is this always going to be this way? Why is this happening to me? What does it mean? There's all kinds of thoughts that can come up around this. And the sensation of bliss that we might have if we're feeling something warm and comfortable or joyful in our body, we can also have thought around that. It's not uncommon for us to have an experience like that when we're meditating or when we're being present with our body, or maybe when we're out at the ocean or we're turning our face up to the sun on a warm day. There's all kinds of experiences that we can have, and then we notice that there's some sensation in our bodies that we're enjoying. At those times, there's often a grasping towards that sensation, a wanting it to stay. When it happens in meditation, sometimes there's a kind of a grabbing onto it or an excitement around it. It's like, oh, there it is. And then it often disappears when we get caught in that story about it. So we have all of these experiences. And then the mind does what it does with them. And it's very easy to get caught in that reactivity or the responses that we have to our experiences. And then when we stop and take a step back, we can notice that there's all of this space where this content is arising. And by doing that, we're not denying that the content is there. We're not pretending that we like this content or don't like this content. We're realistic and accepting of this is the content that's happening. We're just also noticing that there's some faculty of observing or witnessing. As we witness, there's some part of us that's noticing the rising of content and the falling away of content, the changing of content. Content always changes. And sometimes we want it to go away faster, sometimes we want it to stay. But it's the nature of content that it arises and it changes, and that we're observing or witnessing it. So touch into that sense for a moment of who or what it is that's observing the rise and fall of content. And then even to go beyond that and to be aware of the space of awareness. There's this space of which the witnessing is happening, the content is rising and falling. Sometimes we're aware of the content and we get really focused on it and we forget all about the witnessing. We forget that it's content, we just get totally absorbed in it for a while. And then we can become aware again of the space in which that is arising. When we're paying attention to an image, if a memory comes up, we can see that experience through our eyes as though we're right in the middle of the scene. And another way to look at that is to take a step back and see ourselves in the scene. We might see a still image or we might see a video clip. We could also notice that there's space all around that scene. That's like taking another step back. So whatever this image is or the video clip we're looking at, we could notice that it's comprised of shapes and colors and light and dark. Whatever it is that we're looking at isn't actually happening. It's an image that we're looking at. We could also notice that this image that we're looking at has space around it. And we could pay attention to the space around the image, around the edges. We could notice that there's space between ourselves and the image. There might be space behind it. And that what we're doing is we're watching a play of shapes and colors and light that's coming up as an image that the mind is making meaning of. And that there's some observing or witnessing that's happening as we're looking at that image. And then as we're stepping back and noticing that it's an image that we're looking at, that the mind is making meaning of it, there might be thoughts arising in response to the image, there might be sensation in the body you're feeling. And that content is content. It's not who we are, it's not even happening right now. In real time, it's something that we're noticing that's happening as content arising, and then touching back into the space in which it's arising. If we're noticing sensation, we can notice that there's space around sensation. So if there's any sensation in your body right now, in that space that your body is occupying, notice that there's space all around your body. There's space between you and the monitor. If you go into the space above your head, it's empty, and then there's a ceiling, and there's whatever else there is, and there's sky up above. The part of the space around us has objects in it, furniture and windows and bodies. Part of it is empty. And in this space that the body is occupying, there's a sensation, and that there's space all around the sensation as well. So if you're noticing a sensation in your stomach area, for instance, you notice that it doesn't go down into your toes. It might have a sharp boundary, it might have a diffuse boundary, but at some point that sensation isn't there anymore. It might not go up into your throat, or it might go into your throat, but not into your eyes. So notice, pay attention to this arising of experience in space and the space all around the sensation or whatever it is that we're noticing. And pay attention to the space. And then notice the space in which this content is being observed. Noticing that it is content. And noticing what it is that never changes. Look to see if the space in which it's arising and out of which it's arising, if the space itself is affected by what's arising. It's true that sometimes we might get caught up in the content and our experience changes or shifts for a moment. And the content can have an impact on our nervous system, on the feeling in the mind. We might have a feeling of agitation in the body if we're having content come up that's agitating. And then when we touch back into the space around the sensation, around the body, the space around all of the content, and touch back into that space. Notice if that space has changed or been affected by the content that's arising. And then open your eyes and look around at the space in the room. If you're outside, looking around into the sky. Looking down at your body, noticing that this particular area in space has a body in it, and there's space all around your body. And close your eyes for a moment. See if you can notice if there's any difference in the space that your body is occupying and the space just around your body. Notice if it seems like it's the same space. Some of that space has objects in it, some of it has your body in it. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. Notice the experience with the eyes open is a little bit different than it is with the eyes closed. See if you can maintain a little bit or touch back a little bit into that space in which all of this is arising.